Hi everybody, this is my second video with Katie, at Lloyds Banking Group. Please watch the first one, which was more about the strategy, the key challenges, the KPI, goals and the vision of social media at Lloyds. Again, thanks Katie for sharing that with us. Now we'll insist on one part of social media, the social business. So that part is more like within the company. So Lloyds launched the innovation market back in 2008. Then you've got the social commerce, which is more leveraging new business models, social lending, social funding, all those kind of very user-generated type of approaches, or innovative one, using startups doing that potentially. And the third one is social marketing. So today, let's insist on social marketing, if you're happy with that, Katie, right? Yeah. So you've done loads of things in the last 12 to 18 months, right? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube mainly. Let's focus on one thing, so Twitter. Because you're very involved on that channel. And we talked about customer support there, right? Yes. So you've got a few accounts on Twitter. Lloyds TSB Online is one of the flagship accounts with quite a lot of followers, 2,600 or 700, okay? A verified badge. So could you please, again, talk us through your vision for your Twitter channel strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started this Lloyds TSB Online in June last year. It was really to help people with any questions really that they had. It was initially around internet banking, but it's kind of widened its scope now. So it's really, if anybody asks us any questions of that channel, then we'll do our best to answer them within that channel and find an answer for that customer. So we've had customers contact us for lots of different reasons, I guess, over the last 12 months or so. And we've got processes in place, I guess, to make sure that we can respond to those customers really quickly, that we deal with them in the right way, that they're dealt with fairly, and if necessary, then we can take them offline to be able to deal with them, to find out sort of confidential information, because we wouldn't use Twitter really for sort of sort code and account details and those sorts of things, but we would try and take that offline, solve the problem or resolve the question, and then go back to the customer in Twitter. I think getting the verified badge for us was important because as a bank we want people to know which is an authentic site and which is one that we don't support. Obviously it's very easy for anybody to set up a channel, so we want people to know that this is our site. So getting the verified badge was part of that process, and we did struggle with that because it was a US company and they didn't recognise us as a bank, so we did have to try very hard, I guess, to get that verified sign, but we have got that now. Yes. We also have verification, I guess, because we've got an area on our website that also says these are our kind of official presence and profiles, so that people hopefully know that this is a genuine channel. It's legit,
yeah. I mean, yeah. People need to be comfortable anyway, yes, dealing with their bank there and know that the right ones, yeah. You've got a social section which talk people through your approach, which is mainly today Twitter, so that Twitter account, Lloyds, Facebook, which is more the Lloyds TSB Me Today campaign, and the third one, YouTube, that you started initially in 2006, but being very active in the last 2 years probably, yeah. So that's a great, I think, case. Service is the new marketing, some people would argue that, so that's good. You've been active and one of the first ones in the UK to do it properly and thoroughly, okay? In terms of structure, so again, that doesn't sit in your team, or it is probably in customer support, and so how many people did you train, and how many people are effectively engaging with people through Twitter?
For Lloyds TSB Online, it's just 4 people that are dealing with that.
Based in the call centres?
Yeah, yeah. So they have I guess they have the skills, they have the knowledge to be able to deal with those customers and hopefully answer their queries as best they can.
So you've trained them, right, in terms of syntax and how to, because that's a new channel. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, when we were finding those guys, and they do an absolutely brilliant job, we were really keen to find people that already had a real interest in social media.
Within the company, though, you found them in the customer care.
Yeah, absolutely. Team. But you know, they kind of got Twitter, they understood it, and I think, you know, the success of the profile really has been down to those guys doing kind of really being very passionate about it and getting the right responses and really owning, I guess, any conversation that they have with that customer.
And the tone of voice is very important. Of course, you'd like to be a bit more human and making people realize that.
Difficult within 140 characters.
It is actually, but you see some interesting examples in the US, like Wells Fargo. They use like almost a text approach, like the way they use words. It's like a banker like 10 years ago would have been like horrified actually to see that a bank could use almost a youth, young texting kind of approach. And in the UK, you've got other companies like American Express.
Yeah.
You've got an account for that, but again, the way the person tweets, I can't remember her name now, it's quite interesting because it's not really banking / financial services oriented, it's more personal. But so it has, I mean, it's quite difficult for banks to overcome that hurdle. So you've got that team, they're not 100% focused on Twitter.
No, they're not. No.
Of course not, because of the volume. BNP Paribas in France, they train 5 people, but again, they've got a low volume today. But it doesn't necessarily matter. It's important to demonstrate you're there. If tomorrow there are 10 times more requests, you're here, you're ready, and you can scale. Basically, it's easier. So it's still very important to do it. You got the other accounts. We won't insist on them too much, like Halifax Online. There's even Lloyds TSB Local Heroes, I believe, and so a few other accounts. Halifax is quite popular as well, by the way. Content strategy and volume of requests. In as part of the Visible Banking Twitter Watch, we found that roughly on average it's 7 to 8 tweets a day for Lloyds TSB Online, and for Halifax up to 13, so 1-3 a day. So we're not talking huge volumes. Do you have a proper like content strategy / response strategy in place?
Yes, we do. We have, SLAs in place in terms of what we try and achieve, so how quickly we respond to people. So we aim to try and respond to anybody within a half-hour period.
Half-hour?
Yeah.
Okay, super thorough.
If they've been directed to us. If it's a conversation in the wider Twitter sphere that hasn't been directed to us, then probably up to about an hour that we'll try and respond to it.
Still super quick.
That's what we aim for, definitely,
That's a very important point, actually. There's 2 types of expectations, whether they know you're there and they use your tag, your Twitter handle, or they just talk about your brand. So I think it's very clever to identify those 2 approaches, right? In terms of call to action, do you redirect them most of the time to whether a more compliant channel, like telephone banking, and or an area, a page on your website, or what's your approach there in terms of call to action, where to redirect?
Definitely multi-channel. So we will try and direct people to the best source of information. So whether that's a bit.ly link through to one of our websites, whether it's a telephone number to a particular area in the bank, or whether we carry on that conversation as a DM and try and get a little bit more information, or whether we schedule a call with them. So it really depends on the nature of the query that comes through.
Okay, well, again, it makes sense to map that out, So Twitter today is customer support service. Tomorrow we can imagine other accounts for PR, brand, to support initiatives like the local heroes, so some dedicated ones. Can you see more accounts blossoming in the Lloyds Banking Group?
Yeah, I'd like to, keep it to a few accounts really. I don't want to have lots of different Twitter accounts that we need to manage across the group, but recognise that there are different needs for our customers and set up the right numbers there.
Okay, I mean, complexity, the more accounts, the more complex it is, the more difficult to build communities times, depending the number of accounts. And again, other banks in the UK have adopted a different approach. You see lots of accounts for some competitors actually, like Markers, but there's challenges basically in terms of dealing with that. So that's, sorry please.
I was going to say, so you also mentioned about proactive tweets and what we do there, and about a marketing calendar or a calendar of tweets going out. So we do have that as well. So we have requests, I guess, from across the company of different messages that we want to go out to our followers. Okay. So
you would use LTSB online?
We would use that to send messages out. I would be very clear. I think they need to be customer service based messages. So they may be updates around internet banking, or it may be something around the Olympics, obviously which responses, or our money manager service. So it needs to kind of be related, and I wouldn't want to try and kind of flood our followers with lots of information that isn't particularly useful to them. So we do have a strategy around and manage kind of what goes out.
Okay, so one main purpose, customer support, but you would occasionally use that channel to communicate on more wider issues or news about the company. Actually, makes sense again. So that's Twitter, again, pretty clear. Thank you. The other big social network or a community is Facebook. In the UK, we know how active people are there and the penetration of Facebook among the population. So you've started quite a while ago with some not necessarily very visible initiatives. We won't talk about them, but probably 2 years ago, the Smart Saver app, you didn't market it, so that's why probably it didn't really take off. More importantly, recently as well, the Lloyds TSB Me campaign, which is all about leveraging, we could spend hours talking about it, I guess, but leveraging your brand identity, the TV commercials where people get very familiar with, and giving the opportunity to UK citizens to basically create their own avatar and potentially be featured in one of your TV commercials. Yeah. So today you've got 60,000 roughly likes, and that's pretty much the level that you reach in terms of application usage. That's good, but it's quite it was a campaign per se. So what do you plan to do with that page, and what's the value, or is the value of the 60,000 likes on Facebook for Lloyds?
Yeah. Okay. The reason I guess that we set the channel up was to look at engagement and allowing customers to kind of engage really with the brand. It was a really kind of fun application to allow people to create their own characters. Part of that, we created this competition where we gave the opportunity for somebody to kind of feature in one of our TV ads, and that competition was judged at the beginning of the year. So we have got our winner, and he will be featuring in a future campaign.
It's not live yet, right?
It's not live yet.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a timeline for that?
I don't.
Roughly this year?
I think it will be this year. Yes.
Okay. No, I thought I didn't see anything on. That's why. But please keep me posted. Yeah, I'll post that on Visible Banking. Yeah. No, it's a good way to engage with people. And the challenge, as usual, we'll talk about it. It's what I call again KYF. So know your followers or fans. The real value of social is then to understand who those people are, whether it's from a PR kind of approach, brand, and 60,000 followers, fans. Who are those people? How valuable are they to the brand? Are the prospects there? Who are clients? So that's one of the key challenges of social media for the most social media savvy banks like yours. Yeah, and that's the next step you'll be working on, trying to better understand who those people are. Yeah, not just those 65,000, but those communities online.
Yeah.
Local heroes. It's another good way to leverage Facebook. It's kind of a soft topic. It's nice because you do something valuable.
I mean, we have a great opportunity, I guess, because we're sponsoring the Olympics, and the local heroes are we sponsor them, I guess, in their year, and part of that we developed a social media toolkit for those guys to actually talk about what they're doing. So they post videos onto YouTube, which has been kind of the best channel for them to actually talk about what they're doing. But also they have Twitter and Facebook profiles as well. So some of the videos on there are fantastic. So they're really good.
Do you display those videos in the London 2012 section on your YouTube channel?
Yes, absolutely. So we've got the Lloyds TSB YouTube channel, and 2012 is one of the.
It's one of the key sections with advice and TV commercials, but that's interesting because we touched on the point whereby you've got loads of Facebook pages, for instance, I guess per local hero, but the challenge there. It's for them to be active, is to grow, a community, and most of them don't have many likes because of the reasons you would think of. Those people already have a Facebook account, probably a personal one. Charlie used the one tagged local heroes. So it's an interesting actually challenge in the social media space. The more personalized pages, the more challenges it is to grow communities for every single of those. Yeah. But it's good to give the tools to whether it's heroes, local heroes, or small businesses, if it's a commercial banking customer, give them tools to better communicate online and to be more visible. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, these guys have such interesting stories, and I think as we, a year to go to the Olympics now, and it's a story that's going to be so interesting for people to hear.
Of course. No, the basis is fantastic there, yeah. But that's the challenge, to help them grow and develop and be visible, basically, yeah. So that's pretty much Facebook. I'd love to see an official, big, Lloyds TSB page with a lot of content, and so I'm sure that it's going to come very soon now. The future of Facebook and the KPIs, goals, so for Facebook and Twitter we said customer support, so share of voice, number of people you helped. On Facebook, what would that be then?
Facebook, I guess, it's giving that opportunity for people to engage with the brand, and be that through with photographs or the avatar. It's allowing them to kind of to talk to us and really engage with the brand. So Twitter will be more around customer service, and we talked about YouTube. I think YouTube is more around advice and guidance, sharing our TV ads.
Okay. YouTube, that's the last of the key challenges, channels I wanted to cover today. You've got quite a few videos there. You started in 2006 to create the channel. Basically, I mean, how do you distribute that content? And we'll talk about promotion in a second. It's good to have all your videos online.
Yeah.
If nobody know it's there, or if it's not tagged properly and visible. So I mean, it's on YouTube. Where is it actually? Do you give people the opportunity to share? Are they shared those videos? And what's your goal there for YouTube then?
For us, yeah, it is around distributing obviously content and relevant content. We know lots of people search within YouTube around financial advice, and they're looking for mortgage advice or budgeting advice. And so again, it's creating the right content, I guess, to meet the customers' needs. I think you're right in terms of promotional kind of activity. You can't just put it live and not do anything, so it does need to be promoted so that people do find that. I think it's probably a vicious circle, but as soon as you then get the traffic going to the site, then by nature, then it will kind of get more popular.
Of course, yeah. But that's the key thing. I mean, companies think, oh, we've got a YouTube channel, we've got a Facebook page, it's not working for us, or I mean, people need to be aware that there's something happening there.
Yeah, and I think it's around kind of keeping that content fresh, keeping it updated. We talked about having a calendar for Twitter. It's the same thing, I guess, with YouTube. It's looking at what content are we going to put on there. How do we make sure that we're meeting the needs of our customers on an ongoing basis? Okay.
Do you plan to integrate more of those videos into your own website, prospect site?
Yes, I guess with links back and forward as necessary and as relevant. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. So, for example, I mean, with the 2012 site, there's lots of links from the website back to the YouTube channel. Mm-hmm.
That's again important to yourself to use that on your prospect and your public assets basically online. Yeah. We talked about YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, which is good. In terms of still social, but that touches more, I guess, almost social commerce or service as well. Money Manager, it's one very important part. PFM, Personal Financial Management Tools. Again, you scored there, being one of the first large banks to really provide something of value to your clients. Mm-hmm. So could you please share a short update on that in terms maybe of, if possible, usage or how it was welcomed by your customer?
Yeah, it is a great tool, and for people that aren't aware of it, I guess it allows you to analyse your spend and put it into different kind of buckets of spend, whether it be sort of your electricity and gas suppliers and your mobile suppliers, or being able to categorise your spend and then analyse it on a kind of monthly or whatever frequency basis. We have seen quite a big take up to that. So in the hundreds of thousands of people that are actually using that now. Okay. And there's a lot more planned.
Okay. Anything you could share? Anything exclusive or strategy? A lot of banks have started to cleverly using social media to gather feedback, ideas, suggestions, especially on sexy products or services like mobile banking and or PFM tools.
Yes.
Can we imagine that Lloyds would consider launching such a ID gathering platform on Facebook or on a microsite?
Yeah. Mobile's a great case in point actually, because obviously we had a lot of people requesting mobile apps, and we actually looked at who had been kind of speaking to us about that and involved them in a beta test, and we did that through Twitter. Okay. So reaching out to customers who are interested in that and getting them to trial.
Because that's a great way. Yeah, it gives banks and brands in general a great opportunity for it's cost effective as well, and you create something bigger, and people are very receptive to that. They want to express themselves. So last week there was a launch of a mobile app in South Africa by FNB, and they did very well using Twitter to gather feedback, and not only good feedback but also ideas in terms of suggestions to make it better straight away from the first day of launch. I mean, it's just amazing what you can do with social now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely, and I think anything new, then we're always looking at customer feedback on the back of that, and social is a great way of kind of listening out and getting that feedback. Sure.
Yeah, or anything about crowdsourcing now, I think that's one of the most fascinating and biggest opportunities in the social space for financial institutions. Yeah, you don't have to be Apple and be just sexy products for people to be willing to contribute and share their thoughts. So that's very important. Yeah. In that section, actually, again, let's talk about something a bit more engaging, even briefly. Customer-generated content versus what I call user-generated content. It's very important to give a voice to your customers, so the voice of the customer program. Can we imagine in the future again a Lloyds banking group capturing data more consistently or systematically, the voice of the customer, not only to make your products better, but also potentially to turn your customers into brand ambassadors in a public manner. So basically, would you or do you or will you capture that voice a bit more, again, consistently and systematically, and then display some kind of suggestions or comments or reviews on Facebook or your website, or what's the potential for that, do you think, at Lloyds CSB and Lloyds Banking Group?
I think here we just need to be a little bit, I guess, aware of the regulations and data policies and those sorts of things. So it's something that I'd love to do, but I think we just need to be a bit careful about how we use customers' data and make sure that we're respecting their privacy and data protection.
Of course, yeah, it needs to be anonymous in a way, but the idea is to reach a stage where you emulate a bit like TripAdvisor. You don't necessarily give, of course, the name of the persons, but
yeah.
you help a visitor of your site to understand who that person is.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea, and it's something that I'd love to have really.
And you see great examples already in the US, USA, American Express, CIBC Bank, and so on and so forth. USA, more than 90% of their prospect site, the content, is generated by the customers. Yeah, more than 90%. I think it's a beautiful stats. It's pushing it a bit for super large financial institutions like Lloyds Banking Group, but I think that's the future. Transparency, feedback of the customers. We're proud, we're transparent. This is what our customers are thinking about us. Not necessarily just positive, but this is the truth. I mean, this is who we are, and we try to make it better. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Thanks a lot for that second part of the interview. I think we covered pretty much all of your key activities in the social media space. So thanks a lot for your time, Katie.
Thank
you. Please keep me posted of any exciting new initiatives or strategies in that space. Yeah.
Got lots in the pipeline.